Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whether watching it live or watching the recording later on. Welcome to this show called The Great Debate. This is fun come learn activity. This is how I have attempted to make this. This is episode 8, and the topic we have picked up for today, this evening, this afternoon, this morning is solid waste management. I believe the solid waste can become a big disaster and crisis for a society, city, country, or the whole world also. I'm the moderator. Quickly about myself. The name is Daman Dev Sood. 37 years in industry, 18 in resilience domains, operational resilience, organizational resilience, business continuity management, risk management, crisis management. That's all that I know and do. Trainer, consultant, executioner. I have dirtied my hands myself. Author, speaker, etc. But more than me, important are our guests this evening. The first speaker is Captain Satyendra Vaidya. I have very few words for both of them on the slide. So when they start speaking, I'll request if they wish, they can take about a couple of minutes to talk about themselves. So he's Indian Navy veteran, Captain Satyendra. We are talking about Director, International Council for Solid Waste Management, and member of Global Partnership on Marine Litter. Also with us, the second expert is Ashit Dalal.
Morning.
Principal and Director, IT, OT, Cybersecurity and Risk Advisory at eData Consulting. To start with, a disclaimer that we all three, me, myself as moderator, as well as both the speakers, are participating in our personal capacities. The views expressed here on this platform are our own and do not represent our companies in any way. So welcome once again, Captain Satyendra and Ashit.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Thank
sir.
you very much for sparing time. And especially, Ashit, what's the time there for you?
It's around 11 o'clock in the morning.
11 o'clock. All right, so which is not too bad.
No. It's fine. It's a good time.
Both of you sparing time over a weekend. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So Captain Satyendra, we'll start with you first. Some questions and you can use slides if you wish in between. And then Ashit will specifically focus on EHS side of the solid waste.
And just to give you corrections, because Captain Satyendra is going to focus on solid, I'm going to focus a little bit more on e-waste, which is even far more dangerous problem in India and even globally. And I can throw more light both as an e-waste expert, as an auditor. I audit companies, get certified under EHS, 14,000, 45,000, and also R2 standards. So I will give you overall perspective.
Because we have only two speakers this evening, we can afford to deviate a little bit from the topic.
Right.
That's okay. Yes.
Because e-waste is considered as a part of overall solid waste
There is
management.
no doubt both are challenges. And we can spend time today to deviate a little bit from the topic. No challenge at all. Thanks, Ashit, for doing that for us.
Thank you. Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Able to cover two topics in one show. So, Captain Satyendra, to start with, how do we define or what all falls into category of solid waste? We are not going to management yet. First, we want to understand what is solid waste.
See, essentially, if you consider waste, it is any material object thing that has been completed with its task or its purpose and is then discarded. So this is a very generic definition of waste. In manufacturing, of course, waste is defined slightly differently, where any motion or any requirement, any action that is done, which does not translate into profits or does not translate into optimization that may be considered waste. But when we consider municipal solid waste, it normally involves kitchen waste that is generated either in the households or in the restaurants and cafeterias.
Right.
It involves dry waste, which comprises largely of recyclables, which is usually packaged, some kind of packaging. It could be of plastic, it could be of glass, it could be of aluminum, it could be of some other metal. Then, of course, there is the e-waste, which Ashit was mentioning. That it includes everything from used pencil cells or batteries, used wires, connectors, the computers, laptops, whatever is in the electronics domain, if I may say.
Okay.
And of course, then we have some of the domestic hazardous waste, which are, used sanitary material, maybe diapers. Then you have some of the hazardous waste like used razor blades,
Okay.
earbuds, which can infect, if not disposed of properly, can infect other humans and species also.
The mask you wear, for
Yes,
COVID-19,
yes,
these are
absolutely,
one of the
absolutely. In fact, the PPEs had become a big problem. The gowns that they wore,
exactly.
disposing that had become a huge issue.
Right.
So only thing is, Satyendra sir, that is little different category. We call that as biomedical hazardous.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's why I going through separate letter of rules.
Yeah. Right. So yes. I was saying about domestic hazardous waste. So
yes, yes.
The masks you mentioned do come into that, because every individual was wearing a mask these days.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
So that is the largely what municipal solid waste, and of course street sweeping, and so there is some part of inert waste that you collect, which nothing can be done about it. That probably has to go into a landfill. But the rest of the waste, like I mentioned, wet waste, dry waste, domestic hazardous, these are the broad categories of waste that we have in municipal solid waste.
All right. Okay. So can we assume, as we understand now, at least two categories or three categories come to mind? E-waste is one category that, while it is solid waste, but falls into a different category specifically. Then we think of the medical waste or biomedical waste that appears to be becoming another stream category. Right. So what do we call when we say this is roughly kitchen waste?
Yes.
And which may be coming from household as well as from industries, right? From offices, all inclusive.
Yes.
But as we would talk of manufacturing, for example, if there is a steel unit, car unit, they also produce solid waste. That is again separate wing.
Yes, yes, that is separate. So industrial waste, nuclear waste, radioactive waste, these are also different categories of waste. But when you deal with municipal solid waste,
right,
the industries are kept out of
municipal solid waste.
Yes.
Which will take care of the household kitchens as well as offices and industries. Right?
Essentially what you and me, use in our daily life.
Right.
Not necessarily from manufacturing or such activities.
True. Okay. Why should we then say that we need to manage waste, or what is the reason, what is the need for solid waste management?
Okay, so that's a good question, because we normally don't realize the quantum of waste that is generated. There is a Central Pollution Control Board paper report that had come out a year ago. And it says that, just the plastic waste, if you consider, India produces about 25,000 tons every day.
Every day?
Yes.
Plastic?
So, yes, just plastic waste. So now, if you want to put it into some perspective, it's equivalent of about 9,000 elephants, or 86 Boeing 747 jets. So, that is the kind of waste that is generated. And this is just plastic that I'm talking about, because it has become the material of preference for packaging. And that's where it's coming out from. Most of it single use. In addition, there is about 60 to 65% of this, there is wet waste also. And when this wet waste is dumped into the environment, it starts, if I may use the word ferment, it starts fermenting and starts releasing methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So while the plastic that is disposed of irresponsibility has the capacity to lie in the environment for many, many years, it's been invented just 70 years back. So, saying 500 years or 1000 years really doesn't make sense because we have only seen it for about 70 years, 80 years so far. But we know that it lies in the environment is likely to lie in the environment for a very long time. Another issue with unmanaged, especially plastic waste, is that over a period of time, it breaks into very small particles, which are referred to as microplastics. And these then have the tendency.
Please allow me to interrupt.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about plastic,
Yes.
right, a general feeling, belief, or the words going around is that it takes up to million years to get the plastic decomposed. Is it true? Is it myth? It takes long, very long, understood. But when you say thousands of years, millions of years, is that correct?
Exactly what I'm trying to say. Plastic was invented 70 years ago.
Right.
So even the first plastic that is put in the environment has lasted 70 years. So, saying 500 years or 1000 years or billion years is speculation, I would say.
There's no scientific fact behind it.
No, because the material hasn't been around for that long.
Right.
So I mean,
we need to be worried for sure.
Yes, definitely.
It takes long. That is known. That is
it takes very long. It takes very, very long. And incidentally, this particular property of the material is what has made it the favorite for various users.
Right.
That it stays in the environment for very long. I mean,
right.
that is the trumping point of the material.
Okay.
It's not a biodegradable.
Yes, it's not biodegradable. Yes.
So you have certain waste which can be biodegradable, like household.
Even in 100, 500, 1,000, and million years, it will not be.
Yeah, it will just kind of crumble into smaller and smaller pieces. Okay. Just now we are talking about microparticles. Maybe in future there will be nanoparticles.
It will disintegrate, but it will not be destroyed completely.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
chemically, it's not possible to destroy unless you incinerate it.
All right.
Or you
as a chemical engineer, I am telling you. So.
Okay. Or maybe if you treat it chemically, then maybe.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Good. So if a challenge for sure, amount is used, just plastic, you said in India is about 25,000 tons per day. But if we include all other municipal waste, we are specifically with you, we are focusing on that. Are there any rules and regulations around this waste management?
Yes, in 2016, there have been many rules and regulations which have been coming, but the current ones in force were issued by the Government of India on 8th of April 2016 through a Gazette notification.
Okay.
And they are fairly comprehensive rules. I mean, if those rules are enforceable,
right,
then we would not have, we would have tackled at least 50 to 60% of the problem. Okay. Because the rules mandate certain duties of waste generators, like you and me are waste generators. So we generate waste at home and or in our office spaces or in our workspaces. And there are certain responsibilities given to waste generators as per these rules.
Okay.
In as that every waste generator has to segregate the waste into 3 streams, which I mentioned: the wet waste or the biodegradable waste, the dry waste or the recyclable waste, and the domestic hazardous waste or the waste which is going to cause trouble to people. So essentially, every citizen of this country is required to segregate the waste in these 3 streams. And it is required to be handed over to the waste collector in these 3 parts.
Okay. So once again, Captain Satyendra, I'm interrupting. And Ashit, please do not mind. I'm stealing something from what you would have said a little later. But I'll request you still expand on that. But a little bit that I know about e-waste, then we say there is something called EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. Whether that is done, producer responsibility. Who is responsible for e-waste management is not me, the user, it's the producer. Whether that is happening or not, I have a big question mark in my mind about that. So,
and I'll come to that.
Yeah. So the question to Captain Satyendra is then, you said the generator, waste generator is responsible. or the one who created that food for me? I'm creating food waste, vegetable waste, or the one who produced the food, that he or she is responsible for that. Is there anything like EPR equivalent for?
No, see, you have to understand this. Someone has prepared food and you have bought it or you have received it. Okay. You are then consuming that food.
Which is
You
true about
have
electronic gadgets also.
that's true for, yes, but so I'm saying that the responsibility for segregation has been maintained. So that is true for electronic gadgets as well.
Right.
You cannot dump electronic gadgets into your biodegradable waste. So
Right.
the duties of the waste generator have been specified, like I mentioned, about segregation, about
Okay.
handing over in separate parts.
Okay.
In terms of food waste, as of now, there is no concept of EPR. I guess there will be uh, a lot of difficulties in implementing that EPR. We are not still through with EPR for plastic waste itself, and of course for e-waste. So the food production and the distribution being largely, on a smaller scale as compared to, big conglomerates who manufacture plastic.
This is what was coming to my mind, that if you think of e-waste, for example, some big name will come into my mind.
Yes.
HP is producing laptops or desktops for
Yes,
us.
yes,
But
yes.
the moment we think of the food grain, it's the poor farmer who is
Correct.
producing it for us. So how do we put it onto him? And there may be many challenges.
Absolutely. And these are, I mean, while electronic gadgets have now become, the materials of daily consumption also,
Right.
but largely food waste is something which is for sustenance. Theoretically, I can live without a cell phone for a year also, but I can't probably in my condition live without food for that longer period. Some people might be able to do it, but majority of us can't.
Right. So you were talking about segregation of the waste.
Yes.
So can you spend a little more time on that also? Why is it important? What should we do? And again, if we can focus on a common man, what should I be doing? What could I
See,
do?
now, like I mentioned, biodegradable waste can be treated in various ways. Composting is the most simplest, I would say, and the most cost efficient. But then there are various other ways. There is vermicompost, and then there's black soldier fly treatment, and then you can even get oil through pyrolysis. You can have some chemical treatment on the biodegradable waste. So there are various methodologies of scientifically managing the waste, which will prevent generation of greenhouse gases, one, and two, will also help in reducing the other parts of waste which is strewn about. Vector-borne diseases can result because of unmanaged waste in the environment. So in addition, the dry waste is largely recyclable. Like plastics can be recycled, metal of course is recyclable, paper can be recycled. So whenever we are using these products made from paper, plastic, metal, glass, whatever are there, we are presently using virgin material to make these products. And there's going to be a limit on the amount of virgin materials that are available. Someday they're going to get over. Besides, they require a lot of energy to make it. If we segregate our waste, it becomes easier downstream for the waste manager to handle the wet waste separately, as well as handle the dry waste separately and send it for recycling. And that is where the need comes for segregation at household level.
Okay. So what I understand is, at least in some cities, if not across India, if we talk of India to start with, some municipalities perhaps have enforced this on me, that I must segregate my waste.
Yes.
But I'm not sure what happens after this is collected from my home. So do we have any view of whether the municipalities, cities, states, and countries have the capabilities of then processing that waste, even if forcibly I have been asked to segregate?
See, this is a question where the will of the administration is essential. We have cities like Indore, we have cities like Surat.
Right.
We have some, I forget, I think it was a city in Andhra Pradesh now.
Okay.
It's
We know Indore has been rating
yeah,
first for
I think
last 5 years.
Kadapa or one of these places in Andhra, or I'm not sure where it is now, in Telangana or Andhra.
Okay.
But these places have shown that if there is the will of the administration, the waste can be handled very well, and almost 90 to 95% of the waste that is collected is scientifically disposed of.
Okay.
So see, segregation is the first step, like you mentioned. Thereafter, the government machinery or the administrative machinery has to kick in to ensure that it is taken to the logical end.
Right. Okay. I understand. Even if I take myself to be a user, common man once again, it's a big challenge for me. Even if I'm willing to segregate, can I, how do I keep 3 buckets, for example, at home? So there's a challenge. We discussed about rules, regulations. So I would like to spend few minutes with you on that. Easy to make rules and regulations, I believe, but difficult to implement and get those followed. One example that comes to mind is, it has been attempted many times, I believe, but recently I have not seen it myself, but I have heard it from various people. For example, in the markets at the shop, in Delhi, from 1st of July, all types of plastic bags, for example, not all types of plastic.
Single use.
Single use. And what's the difference of, definition of single use, and whether it will be enforceable, and how? They are saying, we know the rule is coming up. It's less than a week left now, but we don't know what is the alternate.
Yes. See, this is, I would say that when you implement a rule like this, a lot of studies have to be done, because people are talking about replacing plastic with paper.
Yes.
There is going to be a lot of environmental damage due to that.
We'll start cutting more trees now.
Yes. So, and trees, besides the paper requiring energy to manufacture, the trees which were existing were sequestering a lot of carbon.
Right.
So now we are removing that, and then we are using more energy to.
It becomes a bad cycle. Yes.
Yes. So to my mind, anything single use is bad. When we were growing up and the plastic bags were not so common in India, we would, leave house with a bag, the jhola, or, whatever bag we had, and it didn't have a problem. We didn't have a problem. If we went out to get something from, say, a restaurant, we would, carry our own tiffins and, fill them up and get them.
Right.
So that is the most sustainable way of doing it. Somewhere in this fast-paced life, we have forgotten the basics, I would say.
Right.
And so whether it is plastic or it is paper or it is glass or it is metal, single use is the problem. It is not the material that is a problem. The way it is used is a problem. And that is where we need to address issues, rather than, replace one material with another. Because, a case in point, I think Ashit will be able to spend some time in it. We are all talking about electric vehicles,
Yes.
But how much energy is spent in mining that lithium?
Yes.
So, I mean, we're just offsetting our debit balance to another area, if I would use that.
Yes, I agree with you.
So the issue that the government, to my mind, should take is try and, stop single-use items.
Right. Great.
Be they polythene or paper.
So in a couple of minutes, I would like to move on.
Just to add to that, in New Jersey, we have the mandate which has come in just, I think, in May, that none of the retailers, none of the stores are allowed to give you plastic bag, single-use plastic bag. So what people are doing when you go to buy, say, groceries on Trader Joe's or Costco or whatever, you can carry your own bags, not plastic, either paper or, cloth bag, as he said, or recyclable. Every store has come out. Like if you go to Target, you don't have a bag, they will immediately give you maybe for 70 cents or 99 cents. And you can keep using it. But those are the things now that have come up because state has mandated. Now in India, if state mandates it, we need to make sure that those are being followed religiously by both people and the government.
Good. Thank you very much. Ashit, I would like to come to you soon, but a couple of minutes with you, Captain Satyendra. We attempted to burst, I would say, a myth in the beginning that 100 years, 500,000 years, or 1 million years to get the plastic degraded, right? There's one more I have heard in last couple of years, but I'm not sure about the practicality or the reality of that. That the plastic could be converted into fuel. Is there any such technology? Is this a fact,
Yes.
a practical fact, or is just a theory, or is just in the lab so far?
No, it is not a theory. It is practically been demonstrated. Whether it is environmentally friendly, the jury is still out on that. Because you are still using energy to make that fuel. So unless that fuel is going to, subsidize everything else, the amount of energy you require to make it.
Okay.
Energy recovery comes very way down on the what I would say the pyramid of sustainability.
All right.
Like if I were to mention the pyramid of sustainability, the first one is of course prevention. The second one is minimization or reduction. The third one is reuse or repurpose.
Okay.
The fourth one is recycling.
Right.
Okay. And then comes energy recovery, which is just above disposal. So while technology is available, I personally do not recommend converting plastics into fuel. We may convert only those plastics which are not possible to be recycled, but then every plastic can be recycled. The issue for recyclers is more of economic viability rather than anything else. Right. Technology, I think, is available for almost recycling almost everything. In fact, in some of the companies I'm working with now, they are also recycling the multi-layered plastics, which were till date, thought unrecyclable. And what they do is physical recycling, not chemical recycling. So, a mechanical recycling, not physical recycling.
Okay. So
it is possible. Technology is available, but pyrolysis is not the answer, in my opinion.
Pyrolysis and incineration, because they are not environmental friendly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. So
because after all, plastic is what? It's basically carbon, right?
Carbon, yes.
And so when you burn it, what are you going to do? You're going to release again GHGs in there.
Yes. Right. It might as well lie in the environment, buried down somewhere. Right. It will do lesser harm than burning it off.
Right. So I keep coming back to me, the common man, right? What is my responsibility? What is my challenge? What can I do? So whenever we talk of environment, we talk of some R's, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle, etc., etc.
And recover.
My impression is recover or recover. There may be 6, 7. I'm just
they are 6, 7 now. Yeah, they're just increasing.
I'm looking at these 3. We talk a lot about recycling, but that's not for me. I cannot recycle. Right? So it seems to me, and I'm looking at your views on that. First, I'm presenting my understanding. What I can do is I need to reduce. I can reduce my consumption to the extent possible. Right. So stay controlled usage by me first of the resources, and then reuse to the extent possible. For example, if we have jute bags, paper bags, we can reuse a couple of times. Or if possible, that may not be an R, that I buy, what I buy is already a recycled product.
Yes.
My product has been made out of the recycled material.
Yes.
Right. So recycle is not within my reach. So your views on that, and then in a couple of minutes, we'll move to Ashit then.
Yes. So, as an individual in society, like I mentioned, a reduction, which you mentioned, is the first suggestion.
Reduce,
I must use, consume as much as my requirement is,
Right.
I don't need to consume excess.
Right.
Second thing, which you said about using recycled products or reuse, reuse also means repair. Those R's that you were mentioning. So
Right.
that is,
and I'll come to that in the e-waste. That's one of the major things.
Yes, we understand
so,
that.
like I keep mentioning, growing up, since we were probably not so economically well off, we repaired almost everything. There was no concept of throwing a thing because it went bad. We even put tire soles on our shoes. Once the sole rubbed off, we would put tire soles on our shoes and use that shoe for the whole academic year. Today the slightest scratch somewhere and it is junk. So, we need to be conscious about these things. There are some things which I can afford,
right?
But whether the environment can afford is a different thing. And also what we need to actually impress upon everyone that we encourage in, the 3 hours or the 6 hours,
right,
is that let us be very clear that planet Earth was there billions of years ago.
Right.
Humans started about 40,000 years ago, we as a species. And planet Earth will be there long after we are gone. So let's stop saving planet Earth. Let us start saving mankind.
All right.
The narrative has to change.
All right.
I am doing this because I want to save the species. Okay, and for saving my species, I need to save the other species in the environment because we are kind of interdependent on each other.
Okay, I'll request you to repeat that. Stop saving Earth.
Yes.
And start saving
mankind.
Mankind.
Yes, humans as a species, because that's where we are ending up.
Okay. Is this your own creation? I heard this first time. Is it interesting?
No, it's not exactly my own creation. I had heard about it, and then the thought came to me. Okay. That what are we trying to save? What happens if the whole world gets flooded tomorrow? Climate change. We are saying the sea is going to encroach land. What happens if the whole all the land mass is encroached by the sea?
Right.
We will not survive. The planet will probably still be there. So, right. We need to change that narrative to start saving humans as a species, and of course the other diversity that exists on this planet, so that we can survive. It's more of a individualistic or a very specific to humans that we are looking at.
Great.
And so let's do it. The planet Earth is not going anywhere.
And we have seen in the time of COVID-19, when there was complete lockdown, animals were on the street,
yes,
including leopard and all. People were inside. So absolutely. That's how nature balances.
And it regenerates
you mess
so
with
fast,
nature, this is what is going to happen.
Yeah, and it regenerates so fast, So absolutely. We are purposefully putting down this regeneration. Even if we just take a step back, I think Earth will regenerate itself and be a much better place.
And based on what JFK said in 60s, I've coined one very nice thing. Mm-hmm. And it says, my motto is save tomorrow today.
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Save tomorrow today.
Okay. Thanks.
So that's a commitment you have towards your future generation.
Yes.
That's exactly JFK said in 60s.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Captain Satyendra, please stay with us. And then we move on to the second speaker that we have with us this evening, morning or afternoon. Ashit from US, from New Jersey with us. Ashit, can you start thinking of talking of solid waste, that's the topic that was, from the point of view of employee health and safety? And then we understand you would like to focus a little more about e-waste specifically.
Right. And Captain Satyendra has covered at very extended length. But I will add a couple of things in that. One is that when you talk about solid waste, there is one category I would always be worried. We mentioned about biomedical, but there is something called as a hazardous waste, which is managed separately both in India and in the United States because of the EHS perils that is associated with it. Right. For example, if I'm in lab and Daman Saab or Satyendra Saab or me, I'm a chemical engineer, I've used extensively those chemicals. And when I was in university at that time, this is in 80s, we make some experiments and throw chemicals in the sink and then release the water. Right. That's gone. You can't. In the US, you have to have a lab pack. If you have, use acetone or isopropanol or MIBK, that have to go in those container. Right. They have to be labeled as a hazardous waste, and it has to be disposed through an state and federally approved the waste management contractor. Right. If they are not approved, that's a law. You cannot even dispose to them. So EHS has become very important aspects in all form of waste. There are rules, and Satyendra Saab would say there are rules even in India. They were before, they are today, and even in the US. And you would be surprised, most of those rules India has enacted are basically, they have taken from the United States, US EPA. So if you really want to talk about EHS, your Bible is US EPA legislation. Okay. It may not directly apply, but if you see, compare between the US and India legislation, they're very similar. All right. In India, the model is that at every state, you have a state level pollution control board. And here in the US, we have a state level Department of Environmental Quality or Department of Environmental Protection, as the case may be. And there is federal, which is US EPA. When in India, we have Central Pollution Control Board, and over that you have Ministry of Environment Forest.
So Ashit, once again, a common man sitting with two experts here. Right? How could this material that has been classified to be hazardous material harm me? Please help me to understand that.
Right. I will give you a very simple example. For example, all of us are very commonly, every day we are using several times the IPA-based sanitizer, right?
Right.
So we don't realize that IPA itself is a hazardous chemical. It kills viruses, but it also has a deleterious impact on human health.
Skin.
Okay. Yes. Yes, absolutely. There is a fire hazard.
Right.
There is also, if you continue to use very extensively, it is also going to impact your health and safety. So that has to be used judiciously.
Right.
That is why most doctors says that the best thing is use soap and water. Restrict the usage of, absolutely. So when you are at home, I have seen people even at home, it's just that this thing they want. And then with the same hand, we go and eat. So imagine that ingest of chemicals that is going in our system. Now these are carcinogens.
Once again, I'm saying as a common man, I have done that. Using the sanitizer.
I do that.
And then starting eating.
Exactly.
Because we thought we were cleaning our hands. This is how.
So what you need to do when you, and there is a reason behind, and this is some chemical engineer will only tell you, these have got very low vapor pressure. So, and they evaporate very fast, IPA and acetone both.
Right.
So what you need to do when you clean it properly, sanitize your hands, wait for maybe a minute or two before you put or touch the food.
All right.
Or you use your fork or something and then put it.
Right.
Don't just take, suppose if you're eating pav vada, right?
Right.
So you have taken a pav vada. I mean, I'm from Bombay, so I'll talk about it. Originally from Bombay. So if you take that, because that has to be eaten with hands, obviously. So if you have washed hands or sanitize your hands with IPA, then wait for 2 minutes before you touch pav vada and eat it. So that most of that IPA would get evaporated.
Right.
So those are the kind of things which we need to take care of it, and also minimize the use, which Satyendra Saab also said that try to minimize. Why do you want to use chemicals when you can use more, environmentally benign products like soap and water?
So once again, think of my challenge. I'm a common man. My challenge.
I'll just interject out here. Ashit just mentioned soap and water, and you were asking how chemicals would affect a common man.
Right.
So I wash my hands with soap and water. That goes into my sink.
Right.
And if I don't have a sewage treatment plant, which is going to remove, because finally, what is soap? Soap and shampoo is finally chemicals.
Absolutely.
So if those go into the rivers untreated. It's going to come back to me. It is going to, or if I just dump it somewhere, it's going to percolate into the soil, and it's going to affect the plants. It's going to affect me. So any chemical left into the environment without appropriate treatment is going to come back to haunt us.
Right. And I will give you answer to that, obviously, because now things have changed. It's not the same thing what we have seen in 70s and 80s. Most municipalities have their water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, and etc. It goes to that. You just cannot put it into a number one.
I agree.
And number two, many of the soaps and shampoos, if you see, they have switched over to more benign, not like STPP and those kind of products. Because phosphates, if you have a large amount of phosphate, they use lauryl sulfates and all, which are far easy to biodegrade.
So these are biodegradable shampoos or soap.
Yes, and more plant-based.
Okay.
So if you make, say, soap out of neem or something, those are biodegradable, and they are more sustainable.
Okay.
So those are the things which you possibly, as a common man, should understand.
Right. Okay. So once again, I'm saying as a common man, look at my challenge also. And especially we are looking at the last 2.5 years, this extended COVID-19 pandemic period. Before that, we had seen a little bit about 10 years ago with swine flu also, which was the earlier pandemic that most of us had seen. I believe most of us have seen only 2. There may be some person who would say they have seen 3 pandemics also in the world, maybe rarely someone. That you need to use this sanitizer, which is alcohol-based, for example. I understand the challenge. It's harmful. It could be harmful, excess use of it.
Absolutely.
And I recommended then even normal soap, the one is good. But how do I find common soap? Then I need to come to my bathroom, for example, right? In office, I may have to walk even 100 meters to or 50 meters to go to the bathroom. That's why offices make it easy to install a bottle every 10 feet or so. There is a bottle, it's a sanitizer. Then I have to use sanitizer only. Otherwise, it's a challenge for me to walk, which could then impact my productivity, which is not good for the organization.
So again, the question of judicious use.
All right.
There is something called as the judicious use of anything what you have.
Right.
Excess use of anything is detrimental to you and the nature both.
All right. Okay.
So if you just walked in or somebody is already in the toilet and then you need to clean it, go ahead and use it. Once in a way, if you use it, nothing there. But every now and then, I touched this surface, immediately I wash it.
But that's what we were told also. That's why it's not challenge.
No, there is a caveat that the best thing, even you ask doctor today, they would say best thing is 20 seconds thorough cleaning with soap and water. They don't say sanitizer.
No,
sanitizer
you were
is
told touch. The moment you touch, you have to clean your hands. How do I clean? Then I have to use the sanitizer only.
No,
soap and water is not in easy reach.
This is the problem with social media and
it's a myth.
Especially WhatsApp information, because each one is trying to give his own.
Don't believe WhatsApp University. Go with the science.
I say that myself, yes, but I believe it was not a WhatsApp University only. It was given by the health departments also.
No, the issue, if I remember correctly, there was that if you are going to be, first they said don't touch your face too often. That was the first caveat that given. And then they said that if you have touched an object and you're likely to touch your face, then, clean your hands. And if you then can't go and wash them, then use sanitizer. So, sanitizer was the last option even then.
All right. Okay, good. Thank you very much. About 10 minutes to go in the show. Ashit, can we request you to come to e-waste management? That's what you wanted to talk about.
Right.
And can you adjust your camera once again, please?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you.
So e-waste is a major peril. If you see the global generation of e-waste is close to 50 million tons. India is close to about 5 to 6 million tons, and it's growing annually at the rate of average 20%. These are ASSOCHAM and those studies which have been done.
Right.
The e-waste in India, so I'll not talk about US. I'll talk mostly about India because it's number 3. After US, China, and India comes at number 3, and it's a major peril. Yes.
Okay.
Second most important thing is that 80 to 85% of the waste comes from 2 streams. One is your computer equipment, and second is your telecom equipment. And when I say telecom equipment, it includes your landline phones, smartphones, mostly now smartphones, and so on and so forth, because new model of Samsung S22 has come. So what will I do with my S4? If AT&T takes it back, yes, it's fine. Otherwise, what will I do? I'll either give it to Kabadiwala or give it to my maybe, maid or whoever it is, and they can use it. That's great if it's working. Otherwise, I have to dispose it of. So these are the things, and you see now India is growing so rapidly when it comes to digitizations, digital transformations, etc. Use of equipment is amazing and growing at tremendous speed.
Right.
And even if I just give you a stats, because I did this presentation to the American Institute of Chemical Engineers last year.
Right.
And the greenhouse gases emission from ICT sector alone today is 3.5%, close to 3.5%. Now that's not small, just one sector. So they have a challenge, and they have a challenge also for disposal of the e-waste.
I agree with you on this, Ashit. I used to teach green IT. About 10 years ago, I started doing that. And I used to say it appears that most of us would have this belief, perhaps, that IT industry is less polluting or perhaps no polluting because we don't see the chimneys and smoke coming out of the IT companies. But actually, IT is one of the most polluting industries.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is they have a double-edged sword. They have to deal with e-waste and also the generation power, the use of energy and other stuff, especially when you run large data centers, cloud infrastructure. You talk about IBMs, Google, Cisco's of the world. you can imagine they have so many data centers across the world.
Right.
And even many major companies have, banks have, like if you go to Belapur in India, I was with IBM, so I used to do a lot of work on the green IT and also the data center related work. So something which is definitely is a clear and present danger, and we need to address that. Now, e-waste has a different connotation that is being regulated also in India. There is a legislation that has come from 2016, 17. And in the US, it has been there for a long time through US EPA and the state level. Now, when it comes to management of e-waste, there are three, if you see the entire ecosystem, one is the OEM, like if I have HP laptop or Lenovo laptop, or even for that matter, simple, printer, inkjet printer from HP or Epson or whatever. So they are OEMs. Second is the user, which is you and me and Captain Satyendra alike. So we use that. And once it is done, I suppose my printer is out now, in case, what will I do? So in the US, it's easy. I can go to Staples and Office Max, give it to them. They will give me some credit, maybe $1 or something, and I can buy a new one. That's one way. So, and in the US, even in India, because of the law, you just cannot go and dump your printer cartridge or your laptop, even if you sanitize everything, and put it in your, municipal, trash or whatever, because that cannot be disposed of. It has to be disposed through an approved and certified e-waste recycler. And they have to meet all the federal laws from environmental health safety perspective, all the state laws, all the local laws, county, city, etc., as far as EHS is concerned, and they have to demonstrate they meet, and they need to be certified to 3 standards: 14,001, 45,000, ISO 14,001 2015, ISO 45,000, which is health and safety 2018, and R2, responsible recycling, which is version 3 right now. And what has happened is now large OEMs, like for example, they have, Apple has tied with so many e-waste recyclers. HP has so tied with so many e-waste recyclers. So that has become a norm. If you want to do business with HP, if you want to do business with, say, IBM, Intel, whatever it is, for managing their e-waste, even at the county level, because I have friends and I've certified them. So they mandate that you need to have this 3 standard certification from EHS perspective.
Please allow me to wear that hat once again, the common man.
Right.
To my understanding, the first e-waste management rules in India came in 2011. And that was the time when I was also a little more aware. I was teaching green IT. It was of interest to me. I also myself started conducting sessions about e-waste.
E-waste, right.
I came to know that there were some approved recyclers, not the traditional informal sector of the kabadiwala, you said, right? Which is informal sector in India, still continues for other waste at least, right?
Unorganized sector, they call it.
Yeah, informal, unorganized sector. I've been struggling for last couple of years to find a recycler who will collect from me. This is my challenge once again. You need to make it easy for me. I mean to say the administration has to make it easy for me, not just make a rule the rule. Also, I have a tendency, at least in the past, that I used to sell that old equipment. It's not only individual. I was challenged by a corporate. Daman, this is lakhs of rupees selling the old equipment. You're saying this is to be given just for nothing? My budget is being shaken, Daman. So this is not acceptable. And those are the challenges. Just for information, 2016 rule that you said, I was not aware of. But this year,
11 it came and it was implemented more from October 2017.
This year, a new rule has come up, and experts are saying that there are challenges the way it has been written in the implementation. So once again, I'm saying, to me, the common man, I want to give my e-waste, but there is no one to pick it up from me. I do not expect me to drive 30 kilometers, 25 kilometers, and dump it somewhere. So that's what typical to this country, our country, perhaps, right? What comes to mind is, before we close, taking this example of COVID-19 pandemic period, the extended one. The use of IT increased. I do not have the percentages, whether 100% or 200% or 300%.
Considerably because of work from home. So
yes, because the whole world started working from the home. So at least one equipment was desktop laptop and one would be the router. These increased a lot. So kinds of, without saying this negatively, what comes to mind, for example, is HP, Lenovo, two names, but there may be many more. They started producing more. And we, when I'm saying we, no, I'm not saying me, the common man individual, I'm saying my organization, our organizations. We started purchasing more.
Right.
And we all were happy.
Right.
My organization happy. Almost everyone worked from home. Right. Initially, maybe a couple of months were challenged, but after that, productivity also touched 100%. There have been claims that productivity perhaps increased while working from home. I have question marks on that. My personal views are different. And the manufacturers were happy that they were producing more, selling more.
Right, right.
The question that I'm raising is, were we both, the producer as well as the user? I'm saying user, not me, the individual, but at least the organization, doing it ethically? What I mean to say is, we understand e-waste is a big challenge. So did we increase, we means again, the office, the municipality, city, state, country, and globally, and as well as the HPs and Lenovo's, etc., the manufacturers. Did we increase our capacity of collection of e-waste and management processing of e-waste? If not, and I'm blindly willing to believe they did not, we did not, then perhaps this was not ethical business. Your views around that?
Right. So I will give you US example. US, obviously, there is a very solid ecosystem. I'm not saying it's still the perfect. There are people who do violate the laws, but the state laws and county laws are very strict. So I just cannot go and dump e-waste. And also there is an awareness. So if I have pencil cells, I cannot just go and dump it. I will possibly take it to Staples and just they have a collection and I can put it there and dispose it off. Now that comes with the training and education and awareness. In India, I think there is still awareness in certain strata, but still the entire ecosystem is not that mature as compared to the United States for two reasons. One is resources. Second is obviously awareness at the individual, including the corporate level. And the third, and I'm not talking about multinationals. Okay, there is still, if you walk into, I'm telling you, I've seen in Citibank, they even tell you to dispose of your personal batteries. They have collection. So you can go and deposit there in Citibank. I'm sure if you go to any of the Citibank's headquarters there, you will be able to dispose of your batteries there.
Allow me to interrupt once again. I'm saying the question was, we started using more, we started producing more. Did we increase in the same ratio our collection and processing capabilities for the e-waste also that we started?
In India, no. I guess that is my answer. In
I'm
US,
saying other countries also, if you have
Ashit, if I might interject out here, the issue is not only of collection, it is also of scientific disposal. I don't have the figures.
That's what I was coming to.
Yeah, I don't have the figures, but I do understand, or I do believe that a lot of e-waste and plastic waste from the Western world is sent to India and China.
Exactly, for repair and other stuff.
So they are collecting it and dumping it in our country.
Exactly.
So that does not mean they are recycling it. They are nowhere recycling it.
When you have brought this, I'm sorry. My interest is, I'm greedy. We have limited time and I want to discuss as much as possible. Also, I've been interrupting you both. Please do not mind that. So with this, I had this on paper, but when you have said, I'm immediately asking this question. In the past, there was a concept that the Western world was dumping on India.
Right.
Has it changed recently? I have heard that perhaps India is dumping on some other countries, which may not be Western world. Perhaps there are some countries which are less than India. India also is dumping outside now.
Yes, it is possible, but there are country-specific, regulations and restrictions. For example, you cannot send any plastic to China. China has banned completely import of plastic. There are two legislations you have to keep it in mind. One is what is called as the Basel Convention, Transboundary Transportation of Hazardous Waste, under which An OECD country cannot send any hazardous waste to non-OECD country, which includes China, Singapore, India, etc., etc.
Okay.
So what waste that comes in, if you are in contravention of Basel Convention, there are heavy penalties. First of all, US Customs will not allow. Second, there are international organizations that will mandate, and there is a standard called E-Steward, which would ensure that you cannot dump those waste in India. It is happening still, yes.
Okay.
But those waste possibly is more for repair or recycle rather than hazardous. So why do they do that? Because many times it's cheaper to get it repaired and recycled in India than repairing in the United States.
Understood. Yes, understood. So in the interest of time, then last question, which mainly to Ashit, but then Captain Sapindra also. We discussed that R's with respect to solid waste management. And my statement that I made was, it seems for a common man, right, a recycle is difficult one, is not within my reach. This is not my scope. I cannot help in that. But reducing, reusing, or using or buying the product that is already made of recycled product. That
repair.
Is my
Repair.
Yeah. Your response, is that valid for e-waste also?
Yes. So e-waste has what is called, if you see the R2 standard, it is based on sustainable strategy, which is basically reuse, recycle, and recover. Recover is only the last option because it is energy intensive. Something that you cannot do it, then in the last option is to send it to basically the landfill. I give you an example. If you have a metal coming out, say mercury, for example, you know, the lamp or something. So what would you do? Under e-waste legislation, and also from that, the 3R strategy I just told you,
yes,
I would send it to a vendor who is either directly connected or who themselves have mercury retort, which would help them recover mercury and put it back into the system rather than sending it to the landfill. So that's absolutely the case. That is why I said e-waste, EHS takes precedence, that is environmental health and safety takes precedence over everything else, both at the consumer level as also at the e-waste recycler level. And at the OEM level.
Thank you very much. So while closing, I will request
Daman, just one thing I wanted to say, that you mentioned that, as a common man, recycling is something which is out of my reach. While the process of recycling is out of our reach as a common person, I am sure that we can facilitate this by segregating our waste and handling it to the recyclers.
Absolutely.
So, and that is a big part of recycling.
Absolutely. I just give you example, Captain Saab, of Citibank.
Absolutely.
So if you have, suppose you take, you facilitate. कि भाई चलो मैं जा रहा हूँ Citibank, can you give me your waste batteries or something? So if I'm taking mine, it's a question of awareness and responsibility. It's responsible behavior.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you very much. And I'll say, well, I keep saying I'm a common man, but I tend to do my bit. And this also today's discussion was at least raising awareness.
Awareness,
that's
exactly.
What I can do, and to the extent possible, participate also. I do that for e-waste also. I have arranged a session on pollution, solution to pollution, within the last couple of weeks. And this e-waste, once again, I'm going to be talking a little more in another session. So we all can contribute. It's not that we can.
Absolutely.
Limitations maybe, and we must look forward to that. Santosh, if you would like to switch on your camera, I would like to take a picture also at this point in time.
I'll take out my glasses. I can take that. Santosh, I think he's on mute.
Yes, he's on mute. I will wait for a few seconds. Santosh, if you can hear us and if you're comfortable switching on camera, please switch on the camera. I would like to take a picture also. If not, then I request you to please give me your best smiles. Thank you very much. And in a few seconds, I would like to share my screen once again to share with you what's next with me from me. My third book got released in last week, within last few days actually.
Congratulations, sir.
Copyright cases resolved. written in a different way. I have
Interesting.
picked up cases and I have attempted to resolve those. I believe there is no other book with that written in that way, I would say. Right?
Daman Saab, I want your
Interesting.
signed book for sure. I can pay
Right.
if you want, but I
Great.
definitely like to.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to. But just that perhaps the transportation P&D
No.
charges will become more
When
than
I'm coming to Bombay next
Yes,
month.
most welcome.
So
Most
to
welcome.
Bombay address, you can send it.
Great.
I'll send it to you in
Great.
advance.
Great. Thank you very much. And the next one, which will be the fourth one, my experiments with organizational resilience will be released on 11th of November.
We would love to have that also.
Session that we have been calling the Great Debate.
Very
should
good.
Be happening. We have been scheduling. I have been scheduling this in every fortnight, so that should continue. This is what is in store from my side. Once again, thank you very much to both of you, Captain Satyendra and Ashit. I'm saying Ashit specifically because he is far away also, even if time is almost good, but both of you stayed on a weekend on a Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to doing more.
Yes, sir. Let me know if I can contribute. Very nice to meet you, Captain, sir.
Yeah, same here, Ashit.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
And thank you, Daman, for facilitating.
Thank you for joining.
I'm happy to do my bit. Thank you very
much. Save today. Let's save tomorrow today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.